Installing Atmel Studio. A quick introduction of the main concepts presented in this lecture. Atmel Studio is a Windows-only integrated development environment. It is based on Microsoft's Visual Studio and it supports Atmel's various microcontrollers. In this lecture, I'll show you how to install Atmel Studio and how to create a new Arduino project. And Atmel Studio Arduino project contains your Arduino sketch file or files, the Arduino core library files, and the files of any third-party libraries that your sketch needs, as well as various configurations. In this lecture, I'll show you how to install and set up your Atmel Studio on your computer. So to get started, go to the Atmel website /tools/Atmel Studio, and you'll find the home for the software and the place to download it from. So scroll down and there's a couple of options here. You can download the web installer, which is a small archive, and then it will fetch all the files that it needs during the installation process from the internet. So if you're only going to do this once or twice, then probably the web installer is a good option. I have instead decided to download the offline installer, which is the full installer, the full package, nothing to download from the internet after that, and it's an 823 megabyte download. So this is the one that I'll be using in this demonstration. So once you download it, just to fast forward a bit and not waste any time, once you download it, you'll have it in your downloads directory. Just start the setup just like you do with any Windows application. So agree with the terms and conditions. I will allow it to install the all architectures that are supported by Atmel Studio, plus the example projects, and start the process. And it will install the USB driver automatically as well. Okay, so I'm going to leave this to run for a few minutes and then come back and continue once the installation is complete. And we're back about 10 minutes later, and I will have a new fresh installation of Atmel Studio 7.0. So let's launch the application and have a look inside. So I'd like to use the advanced user interface. It's the one that exposes all the debugging features of the IDE. So I'll choose advanced here and click on apply. The Atmel Studio IDE, just the way that it comes out of the box after a fresh installation, contains everything that I want in order to write applications for the Arduino and of course to debug them. But there is just one thing that I also like to add, and that is the serial monitor equivalent from the Arduino IDE. So I just want to have a way to be able to read messages that are coming out of the serial port of the Arduino. So before I do anything else, I'm just going to install that component as well, and then continue with the quick demonstration. So I'll go back and show you that again. So to install plugins and components to Atmel Studio, just go to the Tools menu and then choose Extensions and Updates. And then once you get in here, choose Available Downloads. You'll get the latest available downloads, and you can see that there is a terminal for Atmel Studio. Notice up here as well that there is an Arduino IDE plugin for Atmel Studio. This is made by Visual Micro, and it's a plugin specifically designed for people that are working with Arduino boards. It just makes it a little bit easier to migrate from the Arduino IDE into the Atmel Studio. I don't find it all that useful for the purposes of this lecture, and basically for my work with the Arduino using Atmel Studio, since Atmel Studio out of the box will work with the Arduino. So I'm not going to install it, but I'm just mentioning this in case you want to give it a try. The component that I would like to download, and it's very useful, is the terminal for Atmel Studio. It's a free download. Because I've done this earlier in the past, you can see that it's got a little tick here. It says that the extension is already installed, so I'll probably just need to activate it. So in your case, you'll be able to click on this, and then the download button will appear below it, and you'll be able to install it, download it, and install it from here. Oh, I should go back, and one thing that I forgot to do is to activate it. Yeah, because it's not activated at the moment. So I'll go back to extensions, and under installed all, let's see, here's my terminal for Atmel Studio, and I will just enable it. And just restart the IDE for the change to take effect. So back in Atmel Studio, what I'd like to do next is to start a new project. So from File, select New, then select Project. And you see that down here, I've got the ability to create a new project from an Arduino sketch, which is what I'll select. So I can give this a name. I'll call it Arduino Debug Demonstration. And you can select the locations for where you'd like it to store the project files, and just hit OK to continue. Now this is the interesting part. The Atmel Studio will ask you to tell it what kind of Arduino board you're targeting for this project. So you can choose one of the many available options here. In my case, because I'll be working with the Arduino Zero connected through its programming port, I'm just going to select this option here. So Arduino Genuino Zero programming port. And the only option for the microcontroller on this board is the SUMD21G18A. So this is the device that I'm targeting. Click OK. And Atmel Studio will set up the project. Alright, so there's a few things to notice here. Of course, we've got the part of the IDE where all the typing is done, and the coding action is done. Fully color-coded and code completion. This is very familiar to people that are used to Visual Studio. I've got the Solution Explorer on the right side. I'll just enlarge this a little bit so you can get a better look. So these are the files of my project. The file that I'm looking is the sketch.cpp file, but you can also see all the dependencies up here in the Arduino core. So there are the libraries and the inclusions. So there's the Arduino.h, for example. All of that is integrated into the project by the Studio IDE automatically. So it becomes part of the project. Even the source files, of course, are made part of the project here. So I'm not going to be doing any work with that part of the project. I'll be focusing on the sketch.cpp file. Pretty much all of the work in the next lecture will be done by playing around with the functions inside the debug menu. So you can see that I've got the ability to attach the debugger to a running sketch inside the microcontroller. So I can actually plug into a running sketch without having to stop and then start it again. Just a nice feature. I can just start without debugging if I just want to run it normally and just depend on the serial monitor to show me output from the device. I can do all the usual debugging functions like step into, step over, etc. These are things that I'm going to show you in the next lecture as well. It's going to take us a little bit of time to explain and to play around with all these features. That's about it as far as looking at the setup of Atmel Studio is concerned. Let's end this lecture here and then move on to the next lecture where we'll dive into debugging a sample application running on the SUMD microcontroller on an Arduino Zero.